Chrissie Mayr. Mayor?
Mayor, yeah, like John Mayer.
Oh, without the O.
I think John Mayer spells his name Mayer,
Oh, he does.
but I'm just Mayr. It's a German spelling. It's weird.
Okay. Well, I'll just get started. How did you get started as a comedian?
Ooh, okay. Um, I thought I wanted to be a reporter. I went to school for communications, media studies. I like really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, just generally, but I guess I was like, oh, I guess I could be a reporter. And then I interned at Dateline when I was in college because I was able to commute from Connecticut to New York City. So I interned at Dateline NBC, which was a show that was had Stone Phillips on it. I don't You might be too young to remember him, but he was just like a very serious like news guy. And after that internship, I realized like news is not really the place for me. This is kind of boring. And I got myself an internship on Late Night with Conan O'Brien when he was still in New York City. So I did that my senior year. And that's when I realized, okay, like I'm not really sure what I want to do either, but I know that comedy and comedy people are where I feel like I can be myself. And the writers on the show were saying, well, if you're interested in comedy, just take improv. So after I graduated college, I took 5 years of improv at the UCB theater, and then I did some at the Magnet Theater too, both in New York City. Then did a one woman show that ran for about 6 weeks at the Magnet Theater, and then I started stand up in guess what, 2010, 2011, probably 2010, and been doing stand up like ever since, and then was able to go full time about a year and a half ago. I lost my job in December of 2021 because I wouldn't get vaccinated to go back into the building where I was working. So I was like, well, I guess I'm doing this full time now. So, and started the my podcast on Compound Media. I think I pitched it 2019 and it was picked up in 2019. So that's when I kind of started podcasting, and then started my own podcast January of 2020. And I've just been trying to like keep going with it ever since.
Hmm. Cool. I guess the real reason I brought you here right now, because I saw the video on Twitter where you were being heckled by that angry pro trans woman, I guess.
I think they were women. I think they just like they're the type of liberal woman that feels like they need to stick up for groups of people who didn't ask them to stick up for them.
Well, isn't that just like a virtue signaling Karen?
Yes, and I wonder how much these people are conscious of or like self-aware. Like it just seems like they've been programmed to have a certain reaction and nobody else in there, and it seems like so textbook. That's why I was like so shocked. I was like to first see them there, and then the reactions they were having just seemed like, God, don't you have a free thought in your mind at all? Like you're just reacting the way you've been programmed to react by someone who's saying the things that I'm saying. And I just like I try to have like I guess grace for these people because they're not everyone's always like learning and growing, and maybe that was a good moment for them. Who knows, maybe they went home and talked about it and it helped to open up their minds a little bit, but I don't know. I wonder if these women like even saw like any of the coverage. That's what I'm so curious about. And it is kind of sad because it shouldn't. Maybe that is like the blessing of going to a live comedy show, is that for clearly these women, it was the first time their views had really been challenged in a way that they felt like they had to deal with it. And it's so easy. Like on Twitter, you can just like write something shitty anonymously and log off, or you're reading something you don't like online, you can just swipe away from it. But like a live comedy show is like you are confronted with your beliefs, and if you're triggered like how they were, they almost like couldn't help but yell out because they believed so firmly that like Dylan is a woman. They couldn't help but like interrupt because they've lived their whole life, and their this woke ideology is so ingrained. It's just like, oh no, they no, 2 plus 2 is, it's not 4, it's 3. You have to know. And it's just interesting. It's just an interesting social experiment, I guess, to see this type of heckler.
Yeah, I know, but it's like because I was working on a documentary about, I'm working on a documentary right now about political division and how divided our country is. It's like I feel like a lot of conservatives talk about like liberals going crazy, but I do see a lot of conservatives going crazy too. Because yeah, when they put Dylan on the cover of Bud Light, I mean, obviously I wasn't gonna buy it, but like, did conservatives really have to go full blast with like those videos of them just destroying Bud Light cans?
Hmm. Everybody's gonna deal with it differently. And I understand that argument of like, oh, okay, just don't buy it. Or if you really love Bud Light still, I guess you can keep buying it. It's up to the individual, like what battle they want to fight. And I think after COVID, I think a lot of conservatives or right wingers or just free thinkers saw how far COVID was able to push the American public and how much they got away with. It's almost like I think a lot of us jump like to attack an issue because we're like, "Oh no, we're not gonna like we've already let our culture backslide so much, we see what's happening here. We see what narratives and what ideologies are being pushed. We see what's trying to be normalized, and I think a lot of people just aren't having it anymore. So what might seem like an overreaction is really I think people that are stepping up to save their like the culture they grew up with and loved and save it for their own kids, I guess, in the future of the country. But I can see how it does look like an overreaction or like, what's the big deal? Or just don't shop at Target then if you don't like the tuck bathing suits. Like, just don't buy Bud Light, I guess. Why make a big stink about it?
Right. Yeah, just don't because I'm a film critic and I don't know what you feel about the Disney going woke or the live action Disney remakes or something. I kind of like those movies. Like even if they do race swap a little bit, it's kind of annoying. Like just
What was your favorite one, like growing up?
my favorite Disney movie ever.
Mhm.
Oh shit. I never thought about that. Maybe my favorite Disney. It's probably a Disney movie that a lot of people forgot, Dinosaur from 2000.
Oh,
Because there are no fairies, no Disney princesses, no princess. Because it's more realistic. Because technically that did
yeah. So
happen.
they could re-swap your dinosaurs and you probably wouldn't even notice. You'd be like, "Oh, they're just a different color. There's dinosaurs. Cartoon
Yeah,
dinosaurs come in all colors." Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, but the thing I was trying to say is like people complain about Disney going woke. Okay, but people are still giving them money.
Mm.
Like, I mean, if you're
Some
gonna,
people are. Some people have written it off. Some people have canceled their Disney Plus and stopped their family vacations to Disney World. And some people have really, again, it depends like what battles are important for you to fight as an individual. And there are a lot of people that are like, wow, I don't like to see it. But if it's a hot summer day and I'm a dad with my 3 kids, I guess I'll take them to this movie if it's that or have them, pulling out their hair all afternoon. So it really is like I think it's good to be conscious about where your money goes, and I think all the race swapping and like woke virtue signaling with the franchises that we all like know and love and grew up with. I don't I think the race swapping wouldn't be as bad if it were not also paired with this overall message of like white people are the devil, white men are the worst thing ever. Every problem that everyone has in this country is because of a white man. Like we've been hearing this message steadily for like the last 10 years, kind of relentlessly. And if you're a white person, you're like, wow, I'm just sick of everyone blaming me for all the problems in their life instead of maybe just, I don't know, taking some responsibility. And it's also like every white person that's alive now y- n- didn't own slaves. Like it's all like that's just everyone that's just dead. And I don't understand the point of taking out the past on the people that are alive today. And I just think it's a huge distraction. And ultimately we're all individuals. Our lives are determined by us. And I think it's just a huge distraction to blame your skin color on your circumstance.
yeah, that's true. And I mean, and to your point, not every white person back in the 1800s owned slaves, but that's probably because they couldn't afford it. that doesn't mean they didn't. That doesn't mean they were okay with black people.
Right.
To be
Like,
fair,
and it's hard to know how people felt back then because they're all dead, and I feel like probably a lot of history has been destroyed, and I think people react the way they do with the race swapping of old characters now because it's like it does appear that they're trying to like the folks in charge of our culture and entertainment, like the culture makers, the leftists typically, it does appear that they are trying to like rewrite history in many ways. Like just look at how January 6th was covered very inaccurately.
it
Do
was.
you think do you think in the history books they're going to show how many FBI informants were in all these groups? No, they're going to say it was the most violent event ever. It was the worst thing since the Holocaust and 9/11. So I think there's an overall feeling, I guess, among conservatives, Republicans, people on the right, even people that are anti-woke, like it seems like the left is trying to like rewrite history and remake culture in a more sort of Marxist way.
Yeah, well, maybe in certain ways, because like here's the thing. I think the left has their own bias, but also I believe that the right also has their own bias. Is that fair to say?
Of course, yeah, and there's snowflakes on both sides for sure.
Right. So, and I was talking about this with this other journalist, Charlotte Kroll, and I was talking about the January 6th riot. And as I'm looking at, I mean, yeah, sure, there might have been FBI informants in the crowd, but as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't, is there any way to defend that? Like, is there any way to like, you were breaking into the Capitol? Like, can you really defend that?
Who was breaking in?
Weren't the Trump supporters breaking in?
Oh boy, I feel like you're not really up to speed on it. I mean, as a person who was there, uh
Okay.
you can't blame ordinary citizens on there were hundreds of FBI informants and that's been proven and come out I think that's information's been out weeks or months now. uh it's been verified that there were people there like specifically to encourage others to break in, break windows, go wild. I mean, it's if you know who Ray Epps is at all, he's just one example of someone who hasn't been arrested yet, who very much antagonized. There was virtually no cop presence there that day. There were no barricades up, despite Trump wanting to order in the National Guard and have more police coverage. It was very much set up. It was very much a psychological operation used to target conservatives, anybody who voted for Trump. They want to demonize being patriotic. They wanted to demonize dissent. The establishment just could not handle that Trump won, and they've relentlessly been trying to do everything possible to make it so that he doesn't win again. And I think January 6th was just like the biggest example of like, oh, let's demonize anybody who voted for Trump, anybody who still loves this country and wants to fight for all of our kind of important values.
Okay, so FBI informants, like, but where did the news? Did you hear that on Fox or was that on Newsmax or who broke that news out?
I mean, it's everywhere now. I mean, I guess I can send you some articles later.
Because I heard that people like said that oh, it was Antifa undercover, but well, I don't know how true that is either.
There was some
I could be
Antifa presence there. I mean, I was at the rally that previous November and December, and I definitely saw like some Antifa presence. But I think when it comes to like sort of controlling or leading certain groups of people, like yeah, you would need basically a plainclothes FBI, you know, and that's part of the reason why they won't release the footage is because they specifically said they don't want to out the identity of their informants.
okay, and yeah, because back in the summer, I remember I was working for One American News as a videographer for a while, and they kept saying kept telling me that like oh you know with this J6 committee meeting like it's a total kangaroo court. Is that true? Like they've already made their decisions? with these
Who's
people.
made their decision?
Like the judges made their decisions about like how they're going to what they're going to do to sentence these people.
What specifically do you mean?
I don't know. Like I gotta do some more research before I like opine on it. But I just heard like from OAN that the judge has already made and like J6 committee has already made their decisions on like these people that were arrested at the January 6th riots
You mean
or
like how
something
much
like that.
time they're all doing?
Yeah,
Do you know the specifics of how much time everyone is doing?
not really. I just gotta do more research on it.
Oh, yeah, it just seems like overall they're punishing people just for setting foot in a public building. The charges seem really ridiculous, and I think until Tucker Carlson played that footage of Jacob Chansley basically being like escorted around, he was going to serve, I don't know what, like 12 years or something ridiculous like that.
Jacob Chan. I, oh, I've never heard of that guy.
The QAnon shaman, the guy who wore the horns, Jacob
Oh, that was
Chansley.
oh that was his name.
Yeah.
That was his name. Shit. And it's so weird because like
I
Tucker
guess he's
Carlson,
kind of a niche character.
yeah, because I only remember him wearing the horns, but it's so weird because like Tucker Carlson, uh, after he got fired by Fox, it's like Fox was going on the attack on him, releasing unflattering footage about him too.
Yeah, they tried, but it just came out that, well, it was just confirmed that they had to get rid of Tucker as part of the deal with that they had with Dominion because of that lawsuit.
Oh, the misinformation lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard, I
Do
definitely
you
heard
know that
about
they
that.
got sued by
Yeah, for like
Dominion and then they had to pay out like millions of dollars to Dominion?
oh yeah, they because they settled out of court. Because I thought the
Hmm.
original suit was like $1.6 billion.
And then it was like something, it was in the millions. I don't think it was in the billions what they ended up paying. It was a lot though.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then I remember when I was working for the Daily Caller, I was working as a videographer for those guys, and then I heard Charlie Kirk at this MAGA movement back in November of 2020, saying CNN sucks, and then saying Fox News sucks for saying that Joe Biden was going to be the president. It's kind of honestly, it's kind of sort of, don't you think it's hypocritical of them that they say Fox News sucks just because they announced that Joe Biden was going to be president?
Who said Fox News sucks?
I'm pretty sure Charlie Kirk did. He was chanting with the other crowd saying Fox News sucks.
What do I think of Charlie Kirk saying that Fox News sucks?
Yeah, and they're both conservative outlets.
I think people are entitled to feel how they want. I think Fox has been going more woke, especially since maybe like 2020. So I guess if anyone who's been paying attention closely, it makes sense that they would move away if someone is a true conservative, that they would move away from Fox and start maybe paying attention more to like a Newsmax.
Hmm. Okay. Do you think how do like do you think the country is well actually you know what you already know this the country is divided like politically and because I had these questions all set up because I was supposed to be talking to Black Lives Matter too today, but they had to reschedule. So, and I think I asked the same question to Elijah Schaefer, like what do you think the country can do to like lift uh the division, if anything?
Hmm. I would say whatever side you think you're on, I would say go out of your way to have tough conversations and like do your best to not be triggered because there's always something you can learn from someone who you think is on the other side. And who knows, like you might have a conversation with somebody and realize like you agree on more than you think you do. And I think that's the case. And that's what I learned from doing comedy is like we're more alike than not. And it's easy to get in like into your group, whether that's by your politics or your ethnicity or your skin color or whatever. But I think that is the powers that be want us to be as divided up and tribal as possible so that we're fighting each other instead of like looking at the government and be like, hey, you just sent $116 billion to Ukraine and we have like homeless crackheads on the streets of New York City, or we have like an insane illegal immigration problem going on that's completely out of control. And but no, it's let's just fight over over this, over our skin color, over our whatever stereotypes we're mad at the end of the day. I would just say, like, always try to keep an open mind. Don't lose your sense of humor and like notice the things that you yourself feel triggered at, like what is making you angry and try to think about why that is. Because I think we're only as controlled as the things that we're triggered by. Like for COVID, the people that were already germophobic and already very controlling and distrusting of their neighbor are the ones that were very easily psyoped into like outing their unvaccinated friends and family. So I think take a look at what your triggers are and just see how you can kind of like rise above that overall. It's a
Right.
hard question.
Yeah, I get it's kind of one of those broad questions, like, um, but where do you see yourself in like the next 5 to 10 years?
Ooh, good question. I would like to maybe be able to afford to have like a bigger studio and have like in studio, like more in-person guests would be great for my podcast. I would like to just like continue touring the country doing stand up. I would love to be at the point where I am just like not reliant upon any comedy club to book me. Instead, I'm just booking my own theaters, just myself, like completely cutting out any kind of middleman, like not needing anyone to like give me the go ahead, not having to like pitch myself to a comedy club, just like rent out my own venues, sell them out with my fans and just like basically to continue to get more independent, I think would be the goal.
More independent. Okay.
Yeah, it would be great to not have to need a comedy club to have a comedy show because then you're kind of you're at the mercy of who those club owners and bookers like to work with, what agency. Like I don't have any kind of management. I don't have an agent, I don't have a manager. So I have to every gig I get, I have to just like convince a club owner like, "Hey, this is my following. This is about where my fans live. This is what I sold last time I was in this area." Like I don't have the benefit of somebody like pitching and negotiating and like somebody that's already in the industry helping me get gigs. So, which is good in a way. It makes you more free and you're not, I'm not worried like if I tell a joke, a trans joke, my management's going to drop me or like force me to apologize publicly. I think most comedians now are very afraid to speak their minds because they don't want to lose opportunities or lose their management or like lose any kind of deal.
And that's fair. I mean, I think Bill Maher and Piers Morgan talked about that on the show. They said it was like cowardice, so to speak. I don't know what you feel about Bill Maher, Piers Morgan, but that's kind of true to an extent. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to lose my job over a joke or a tweet.
Hmm.
To and I would
Yeah.
and I wouldn't want to lose my job because, hey, I have to get vaccinated. I mean, if they just tell me I have to get vaccinated, fine, I'll just get vaccinated. I mean, it's
Yeah. Everyone's got like the hills that they're willing to die on. And you can't expect, like, I can't expect the things that I'm passionate about and the things that I would be like, I was willing to lose my job over not getting vaccinated. Like that was that was my annual salary. And I went from making a good living to that is gone because I didn't want to get vaccinated. But that's what I was willing to do. And I could see in the months leading up, like, okay, am I willing to lose my job over this? Yes, I am, because my health is more important. Potentially, like having a healthy baby is more important than just keeping my desk job and you can always get another desk job somewhere. So, and again, but for me, like free speech is really important. I think people should be able, especially comedians, say whatever they want to say on stage and not feel like, well, we have to tiptoe around trans people because they are the protected class du jour. And it's like if you have the balls to actually live life as a trans person, like you shouldn't be treated with kid gloves because it's hard to if you're genuinely trans and you want to assimilate in society and whether you want to pass or just like have a regular life, like that's hard to do. I don't think society does you any favors by like treating you with kid gloves or tiptoeing around or being afraid to be honest with you. And that's how it seems society wants us to treat trans people. Not that like they literally want us to not treat trans people like we treat everybody else. Oh, we can't make jokes about them. Oh, we can't be honest with them. Oh, we can't tell them the truth or how we really feel. Or like, oh, we have to pretend that we can't see their dick in the bathing suit. Oh, we have to pretend that they actually look like women when they don't. We have to pretend they are women when they're not. And I just don't think that that's equality. I think that's
Right.
like we have to be delusional for certain people, but not for everybody. Doesn't seem fair.
I just find it funny that a lot of trans people are more hurt by a joke than their dick getting snipped off.
Well, because like a joke and a laughter, like a laugh is really like an acknowledgement of a truth. If you think about it, it's like a visceral physical reaction. Like your body is acknowledging a truth. That's why you can't help what you laugh at because you agree with what you agree with. And like, that's what's so amazing about comedy is like you just can't help but uh and like when a group of people can all like laugh about the same thing, it's like a beautiful moment. It shows everybody like, hey, we're more alike than we are different, and it's okay to laugh at something. If you laugh at a horrible joke, that doesn't make you a horrible person. That means you're a human being, and we have to laugh. It's a pressure release. It's for the same reason why sometimes people need to play video games for a while, or some people need to like watch sports for a while. It's just you need to be able to check out sometimes and have a good distraction.
Yeah, because some people just want to like just have time to just turn their brain off and just have a fun after a hard day at work.
And
That's
if you
what.
don't like comedy, don't go to a comedy club. Don't
Yeah,
be a person who doesn't like comedy and then go to a comedy club and try to change everybody's mind. Like, oh, but we can't joke about trans people. It's like, well, then you don't belong there. Then you're not going to have fun here. People are not going to enjoy you being here. You're not going to contribute anything as an audience member. So it's like, well, then don't go. Don't like go in spaces where you don't agree with and try to change that. Well, like then create your own thing. If you're like a woke virtue signaling activist, like then go to create your own meetup. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Don't try to come into a comedy club and tell me that I'm wrong when I spent 13 years getting to this point where I'm the one on stage with a microphone and you're paying to listen to me for an hour. Like that's so arrogant. That's the most selfish thing you can do.
yeah. And I remember me and my mom were at a club and we were watching Bill Maher, and Bill Maher made a joke about someone's student loans, and then some young woman yelled out, "Fuck you, Bill Maher," and then the whole crowd booed her. And then Bill was like, "Yet you drove and bought a ticket just to see me." I don't, I forgot what the joke was, but like she was just
Right.
so trick. She was so upset, and you can tell her student loans went into default. I forgot
Right.
what the setting of the joke, but it was just so. It was like a deep
Because she's
seated.
probably going, shit, I'm totally in debt over college and she probably doesn't have a job. She probably feels very duped, like so many Americans do, like by the college system. You're promised you're gonna get this great job, that the debt is gonna be worth it, the taking out the loans is gonna be worth it. And it's like she probably is a barista. She's probably going, fuck, I didn't have to go to college. I didn't have to have my parents spend all this money, or I didn't have to take out all these loans because I'm not where they promised me that I would be at this point. And that again, like I said before, look at what your triggers are. You're triggered by the things that are truthful to you. So if you can I'm not saying you need to be an unfeeling and uh not vulnerable ever, but if you look at the things that trigger you and you try to strengthen yourself from within, then nobody can touch you. Then you're not going to be at like a 4 a.m., Twitter war with somebody.
Yeah, that's always good. Mental health is important. And you seem like a very funny comedian. I guess I've seen some of your stuff.
Ugh,
I what
comedian. I don't
or
understand
whatever.
why people say comedian.
Probably the same reason that people say actor or actress.
It's different. Comedian is a comedian. Like, I don't know. I think when someone says comedian, it like shows me that they're not really into comedy that much.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just trying to be. I guess I was trying to be woke-ish.
Okay.
But I feel like you. Have you ever thought about auditioning for Saturday Night Live, or is it too?
Have I ever thought about auditioning for Saturday Night Live? I don't think it works that way. I think if I mean, I was in a position to be probably scouted for SNL when I was at UCB. Um, how many years ago is that now? Like, wow, I was at UCB like what, 2006, 2007. So that might have been the time in my life where I could have been scouted for SNL because they did kind of like look at the pool of improv talent at UCB. I think I think SNL, they hire exactly who they want to hire. They hire a very similar, like everyone who works at SNL, in my opinion, all have the same voice. It's not a place for diversity of thought. They want somebody liberal, somebody at Ivy League school. You have to be connected. You have to already know people who are working there, and they look for a very specific type of person. And based on what I think that type is, they would not be interested in me for the same reason why they had to fire Shane Gillis right away after they hired him. And then somebody outed that he was on a podcast and he said the word chink. And like, and they had to like make a big to do over firing Shane Gillis over that, who was funnier and more talented than anybody on that show currently. But again, like their woke values were more important than actually having diversity on their show.
To be fair, because I think I did hear Shane Gillis say that, and I heard some context. It was like, I don't know. It was like that's. I think that was just like a PR move for NBC though, because
To what? To fire him?
yeah, to fire him. Because like if they see that they hired this guy that said this racial slur, then like I'm pretty certain that ratings would probably go down. I mean, if I'm in the headspace of the NBC, like maybe, I mean, maybe it was the best PR move. I mean, just saying. It was
So you
not,
think they did the right thing?
I mean, if I were an Asian person and I were okay, well, then I'd have to look at like how many Asian people or how many.
You don't think context matters? You don't think the fact that he was on a comedy podcast and he's a comedian factors into how offended you're going to be at that? And it's not even something that's said directly to you as a person. It's
Well, I think didn't he say like, oh, you got to watch out for the chinks or something like that, or something? It was like, I mean, was he?
he didn't say it
Was he
on
making a
SNL. He said it as part
right?
of another podcast and a comedy podcast because he's a comedian
Right, I remember that.
and he was doing like a bit of an act out, I think. He was trying to make his friend laugh. It's not like he was trying to make a Chinese person feel bad. Like, I think context really matters before someone decides to get offended or not.
Yeah, the thing is, I think when NBC was going making that decision, like they had to think about like how people from all sides were going to view that, and if it's the PR move to do it, it's like, I mean, I don't like your hands are tied at that point. It's like, I mean, just from my perspective, I'm like somewhere down the middle, right?
Mhm.
Because like I
I
was
mean, yeah,
like,
clearly they did it. It was a conscious decision. They probably had lots of meetings over it, and they did what they thought was best to do for their business. I think it's just unfortunate that when it comes to like a comedy show, SNL, which used to be like one of the best shows and hilarious with the best talent, it's now become more important to NBC to virtue signal and play it safe than to have the best talent possible working for them. And it shows in the quality of their show. It's why the show is tanking and probably going to end soon.
well, I don't think it's going to end soon. I think that's like an institution on NBC.
I give it like I think they're going to be out after their 50th anniversary.
Really? 50? How they've been on since 1975, 50. I give it like maybe 20 more years.
All
20,
right.
20 more years.
We're taking our bets now.
I mean, because I too have said jokes that have ruffled a few feathers.
Ooh,
Um,
give me one.
okay, okay. I'm looking at the time left. I got 4.5 minutes left. Okay, just okay. This is a joke I got from someone else.
Okay.
But just remember, I'm black and Jewish, so I can say this.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell. Thank you for telling me.
Okay. A white man is walking along the desert. He spots a genie's lamp. He picks up the lamp, rubs it, out pops a genie. I'm a genie, you have 3 wishes. His first wish, he wants a giant mansion. The genie gives him a giant mansion. The second wish, he wants naked women run around his mansion. The genie gives him naked women run around his mansion. But the third wish was strange because the genie had never heard of a request like this before. Why would he want to be hung like a nigger?
Oh, like in his pants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what happened? Did he get it? Did he get his wish?
Yeah. Well, I mean, people usually laugh after that, but they usually. I,
It's cute. It's very cute. Yeah.
I've never heard that joke be cute before. I've
It's a
never.
cute joke. It's like a street joke. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a street and cute aren't the same exactly.
A street joke is like a very common, like it's an unoriginal joke, basically. It's like a something that you've heard, like old men say to each other at the bar, be like, "Oh, did you hear this?" And it's like it's clear that they didn't write it themselves. Like a street joke.
Oh, do you have a racy joke for me?
A racy joke?
Just
I have a street joke. Okay. If
okay.
mothers have Mother's Day and fathers have Father's Day, what do single guys have? Palm Sunday. That's my joke that I tell people anytime they ask me for a joke. Usually it's Uber drivers.
Usually it's Uber. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh God."
Oh,
But now I just tell them I'm an assistant or I work at the bank or I give them like the most boring job possible so they don't ask me for a joke.
oh, sweet Jesus. Oh, that wasn't. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, true. That's true.
It's fun.
It was fun, but shit,
But
I got.
it's not that racy. That's a
Yeah,
little on the safe side.
yeah. You could have gone harder a little bit, but
I didn't want to upset you.
oh, when First Amendment, right? Like, no, it's okay. It takes a lot to upset me, Miss Madam.
Okay.
But I got less than 2 minutes here because I can't upgrade the Zoom. But it was great.
Oh, oh no.
Oh, damn! Did you
Upgrade your Zoom.
fuck? Oh, yeah. But
All
that
right,
makes
I'll tell
that
everybody where
costs
they can
money.
follow me. Follow me at Chrissie Mayr on Twitter, Chrissie Mayr Pod on Instagram. I have a show called The Wet Spot Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern on compoundmedia.com. I have a show every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel, Chrissie Mayr, Mayr. Also, every Friday, you can watch me on Nerdrotics YouTube channel. A show's called Friday Night Tights. That starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be in Jersey at Tiff's in Morris Plains, July 8th, Richmond, Virginia, August 9th, and the Secret Group in Houston on August 11th.
Well, you heard it right there. Like Chrissy Mayer, thank you for your time, madam.
Thank you, Richard.